classes by MMDS, and our topic of discussion today is casting techniques. Before we go into the detailing about how these casting technique is done, let us first talk about why we need this casting technique. So basically casting is formation of cast metal restoration. So when we first have a wax pattern or a wax model of a restoration needed prepared, which is converted to the metal casting. So this total process of conversion of a wax pattern to the metal casting finally, which is delivered to the patient, is casting. And the technique that is very commonly used for casting is the lost wax technique. Now these pictures will show us the process of casting. So in the first picture we have a die on which a wax pattern has been prepared. So this is a die that is a positive replica of the tooth. So it is a model on which we prepare our wax pattern. After we have our wax pattern ready, in the next step we connect a sprue to this wax pattern. The sprue is nothing but a channel which we will be using for flowing in of the metal inside the cavity that will be created in there. Once we attach our wax pattern to the sprue, the next step is investing. In investing, we use a material that we pour around the wax pattern, and this material needs to have some typical properties which we'll be discussing later. And once this investing is done, in the next step there is a burnout process carried out. In the burnout process, the wax pattern is totally burnt out. So after the wax is eliminated out or washed out, what we get is a cavity or a mold. And this mold is a space wherein we'll be pouring in our molten metal to get the casting or the metal restoration. So the next step is actual casting. Herein the molten metal, which is already molten in a crucible, is forced into this cavity through the channel that is formed by the sprue former, and this channel is called as sprue, as we already saw. And once the metal goes inside, it is allowed to solidify, and after the solidification this investment is broken. After breaking out the investment, the casting is taken out. Now the next step, the casting is pickled. Pickled is during the process whatever impurities settle down on the casting, they are removed by a process that is called as pickling, which we'll be talking about later. And after the pickling, this sprue that has been attached to the casting, which is now filled with the metal, is separated out, and this casting is then finished, polished and delivered to the patient. So this is the basic process of casting, and with this we'll move out to detailing of these steps. Now during this all process we have various materials involved, wherein we have a wax pattern, so which is subjected to numerous temperatures during this process of casting. Further, then we have the metal that is further molten, solidified and all that. Then we have the investment that surrounds this wax pattern and all those things. Now these high temperature changes that happen during this casting process may result in a lot of dimensional changes, and this is something we do not want. So how are these dimensional changes avoided? So here in this slide summarizes how the dimensional changes are basically balanced. So we have the wax pattern. Now it has a very high coefficient of thermal expansion, and due to temperature changes it shrinks. Now there is a wax shrinkage and also molten metal which we actually put into the mold cavity. During the solidification process it shrinks. So the wax and the metal, they shrink. And further, this is compensated by wax expansion. So the wax that shrinks during cooling, it also expands during heating. So that is what compensates the shrinkage of the wax and the metal. Further, we have something called a setting expansion. So setting expansion, hygroscopic expansion and thermal expansion, these are the expansion in the investment material. We had the wax pattern which was invested in the investment material. There is shrinkage of metal, there is shrinkage of wax, and this shrinkage is converted by the expansion of this investment material. Now there are various types of expansion. One is the setting expansion. During setting, the investment material expands, that is a setting expansion. The second is hygroscopic expansion, wherein while setting, this total investment is immersed in water so that it expands more, that is the hygroscopic expansion. Further, there is thermal expansion. During the wax burnout process and during the flowing in of the molten metal, there is a lot of heat applied to this whole assembly, and that results in further thermal expansion of this investment. All these expansions compensate for the shrinkage of the metal that happens during cooling. So basically during the whole process, this left side is balanced by the right side. Ultimately, what is desirable is the least dimensional changes as we move from the wax pattern to the metal casting. So there is a limit set, a tolerance limit set. A casting should be as accurate as possible. That's what we want. Although a tolerance of 0.05% for an inlay casting is acceptable. Thus, if we have a variation of 4 micrometers, this difference is tolerable and will not be noticeable. And these values are very important source of MCQs, so are to be noted down in here. Now, 4 micrometer is 1/10 of hair thickness. Hair thickness, that is approximately 40 micrometer. Now, let's start with our casting technique step by step. So, wax pattern, when we talk with preparation of the wax pattern on a prepared tooth, we have two techniques in that. One is the direct technique. Direct technique is wherein the wax pattern is prepared in the oral cavity. So we have a tooth preparation, and on that the wax pattern is directly prepared in the oral cavity. In the second technique, that is the indirect technique, we actually take the impression of the prepared tooth and then we obtain then we prepare a die, and on the die wax pattern is prepared. Right? So these are the two techniques, and in either technique the basic purpose is prevention of distortion. So that is the focus in either the direct technique or the indirect technique. Once the wax pattern is obtained by either direct or the indirect technique, this wax pattern is taken out and is then prepared for investing. In the second step, a sprue is formed. So we attach a sprue former to this wax pattern. So this sprue former is something that provides a channel through which the molten metal can be flown inside the mold after the wax is eliminated. So there are certain characteristics a sprue former should have. So the first one says the diameter of this sprue former should be same as the thickest area of the wax pattern. So imagine this is the wax pattern. So we consider the diameter, the thickest portion of the wax pattern, or probably this is the thickest portion of the wax pattern, and we want our thickness of the sprue former should be equal to the thickest portion of the wax pattern. So theoretically that is what it is said, although practically a little bit less than the thickness of the wax pattern is acceptable. Now when we talk about in the sizes, so it is 6 to 12 gauge is usually the commonly used size in the dental casting, that is 4.1 to 2 millimeters. So that is about the thickness of the sprue former. Then comes the length. Now after talking about the thickness of the sprue former, we'll be talking about the length of the sprue former. Length of the sprue former is important because we have to position this casting such that the distance from this end, that is from the surface of the investment. Once we have our investment, this is where our investment will be, and this distance from the surface of the investment to the wax pattern should not be more than 6 millimeters. So we want the sprue should be long enough so that our wax pattern is positioned within the 6 millimeters of the trailing end. But still we don't want our sprue former to be very long, because if it is too long, the molten metal which is flowing through this sprue former may get solidified before it reaches the mold. So we don't even want that. So why do we need to position the wax pattern within the 6 millimeters of the trailing end? That is one question. We want this mold to be close to the trailing end because when the wax is eliminated out and when there is an empty cavity before we flow in our molten metal from here, there are a lot of gases which are already occupying this mold space, and while the metal reaches this mold space, these gases should escape out, and this is possible because of the porosity in the investment. And to allow these gases to escape efficiently, we do not want a very thick layer of investment over the mold cavity. So having this layer less than 6 millimeter helps the gases to escape out, creating the room for the molten metal to flow in the mold cavity. So these are the two purposes we need to satisfy with the length of the sprue. The third criteria says that the sprue should be angled at 45 degrees to the proximal area. Now this point is quite simple. Now imagine if your sprue is attached 90 degrees this way to the proximal. In that case, the molten metal that flows in will hit this opposite wall, and since it will hit the opposite wall, it will create a lot of heat. And this particular heat will result in a creation of hot spot at this point, and this will be the last spot to solidify, creating a localized shrinkage porosity. We'll be talking about the shrinkage porosities when we go to casting defects, but since this area will be the last one to solidify, this area will remain deficient of the metal and will be a spot of localized shrinkage porosity. So that is why we do not want the sprue to be attached at 90 degrees. So we keep it attached at 45 degrees to the proximal area. Now one more point noted here is this attachment of the sprue to the wax pattern. It should not have the sharp edges as seen in this diagram in here. The edges should be rounded as we see it here. We do not want the sharp edges because this sharp edges will result in turbulence. It will result in turbulence in the flow of molten metal, and this turbulence will create a lot of possibility of the bubble inclusions and the heat generation. So we do not want turbulence in the flow of the molten metal, so we want these junctions to be rounded. So those were the basic properties that we discussed about the sprue former. Now this sprue former is attached to the sprue base. Now this attachment of the sprue former to the sprue base can be done in two kinds. One is by direct sprueing. Direct sprueing wherein the sprue proceeds directly to connect with the base. So from the pattern to the base is the sprue. And the indirect sprueing, there is a reservoir bar that is placed between the pattern and the crucible former. So we just go back to this diagram and we just look at this. So one is the direct sprueing wherein your wax pattern is directly sprued to the sprue base. The second thing possible is a reservoir. So let me explain what reservoir is. In reservoir we may have a place wherein molten metal can stay before it actually flows into the mold. So this reservoir acts as a reservoir which stores the extra molten metal, and it keeps on feeding that molten metal when the metal is shrinking. In this kind of sprueing is called as the indirect sprueing. So reservoir bar is placed between the pattern and the crucible former. Right? This reservoir prevents the localized shrinkage porosity. As we already saw before, a localized shrinkage porosity is a porosity created because in the mold, inside the mold, the metal is poured in, and this metal which comes inside the mold shrinks. When it solidifies, it shrinks. As it shrinks, it needs more metal to replace that space that is created by the shrinkage of this metal. So if the more metal is available for flowing in, the localized shrinkage porosity will be prevented. So this can be prevented by having a reservoir. So that was about the sprue former and the base. Next we move on to investment. So once we have our sprue attached to the wax pattern, in the next step we invest this assembly in a material that is called as investment. So investment is a process by which a sprued wax pattern is embedded in a material that is called as investment. And this investment has to withstand the heat of the forces and casting. So why do we have investment? This investment is the one that forms the mold cavity once the wax is burned out. So this mold cavity is a place wherein the molten metal flows in and forms the casting. So investment, it should be able to withstand all the heat and the forces of the casting, and plus it should also have a property to reproduce as many details as possible of the wax pattern into the casting. So as we have already seen in the previous slides, this investment also plays a very important role in compensation of the wax and the metal shrinkage. So the shrinkage that happens in wax and the metal during the process of casting is compensated by the expansion that is brought about in the investment. So to allow for the investment to expand, one is during setting it automatically expand. The second process, the hygroscopic expansion, it is wherein we provide the water around the investment so that it expands. Now for that, we use something that is called as casting ring liners. This casting ring liners, they permit the investment expansion. So what are these exactly? So when we have a casting ring wherein the wax pattern is invested, and this casting ring is lined from inside by something that can hold water. This is nothing but silicate ceramic liner or a cellulose paper strip. So aluminum silicate ceramic liners or cellulose paper strips are used as liner inside these casting ring. The thickness of these liners should be 1 millimeter, and these liners, they hold water and they provide the water necessary for the hygroscopic expansion. But there is one problem with this, that expansion is more towards the open end of the casting ring because it's unhindered. On the lateral sides we have the casting ring itself that actually limits the expansion. So expansion is more in the longitudinal direction than in the lateral direction. So to reduce this longitudinal expansion, liner is placed 3.25 millimeters short at the end of the ring. Let's say it diagrammatically. So here in this diagram we can notice the liner here. This liner lines the inside of the casting ring. So this is just a cross section in here. So these open ends, since they are open, the investment easily expands in these directions. This cellulose strips, although it provides the water needed for the hygroscopic expansion, but because of this metal casting ring, the expansion in the lateral direction is limited. So there is a kind of an unbalanced expansion wherein the expansion more longitudinally and less laterally. We do not want that to happen. For that purpose, this ring liner is kept short in these areas so that they do not exert much of the hygroscopic expansion forces in these longitudinal direction. 3.25 millimeters short at the ends. This is a very important MCQ, and that is to prevent the expansion in the longitudinal direction. Not exactly to prevent, you can say to limit the expansion in the longitudinal direction. After the investment, the next step is the wax elimination. So wax elimination is a process wherein wax is burned out totally so that the space that was occupied by the wax inside the investment now becomes an empty mold. So this wax elimination is done by heating. So the temperature that are used for wax elimination for gypsum investment material is 468 degrees for hygroscopic technique and 650 degrees for the thermal expansion techniques, while for the phosphate bonded it is 700 to 870 degrees centigrade. Now the burnout process for the wax elimination, it should actually start when the mold is still wet. So we had our wax pattern and our wax pattern was invested in the investment. This investment sets. So before actually it sets completely, the wax elimination process, the heating process to eliminate the wax should be started, because the water which is present in the pores, It reduces the sticking of the wax to the wall, and it helps to eliminate the wax more thoroughly. So these water pores, it reduces the absorption of the wax to the walls, and it flushes the wax out of the mold cavity. Now, we do not advise too rapid heating of the gypsum investment, because as we know that gypsum cannot stand much of a heating, and if the gypsum is heated too rapidly, it results in cracking of the investment materials, and this crack in the investment material, later when the metal comes in, it will fill these cracks and it will result in the formation of fins on the surface of the casting. So the cracking of investment due to too rapid heating of the gypsum may result in fin formation, and this is more commonly seen with cristobalite investments. And this is a very common MCQ. Further, there is a limit to which we heat the gypsum investment material, because if the gypsum investment material is heated above 700 degrees, sulfur dioxide is formed and that contaminates the gold casting. Gypsum investment, which is most commonly used for the gold casting, is not heated above 700 degrees because this sulfur dioxide may embrittle the gold. Once the wax is eliminated and the mold cavity is empty, so the next step is the melting of the alloy. The alloy is placed on the inner side wall of the crucible, and a dim blue reducing zone of the flame is used for the melting of the alloys. Now once we have a molten metal in the crucible, this crucible and our casting ring both are placed on a centrifugal casting machine. So this casting machine is rotated, and because of the centrifugal force, this molten metal is forced into the mold cavity, and this molten metal flows in from the sprue former into the cavity here, the mold cavity, and while it is flowing in here, the gases which were occupying the mold cavity, they escape out of the investment, allowing the molten metal to fill in the mold space and form the final casting. So this is our casting machine, and this is the actual casting technique. And once we have the casting ready, the next step is breaking the investment, taking out the cast, and then cleaning the casting. And this cleaning of the casting is done by a process called as pickling. Pickling is heating the discolored casting in acid, and for gypsum bonded, the best acid is 50% hydrochloric acid. So herein what is done is we take a test tube, and the casting is kept inside a test tube, and a heated hydrochloric acid, that is 50% HCl, is poured into the test tube. But it is just heated, not boiling. This point is an important MCQ. So pickling is a process of cleaning the casting. Once the pickling is done, then the sprue former is cut away from the casting is polished and delivered to the patient. So this was the basic casting procedures, and in the upcoming classes we'll be talking more about the defects in the casting process. Thank you.